Colombia's foreign ministry says it has recalled its ambassador from the United States, escalating the feud between President Trump and Colombia's President Gustavo Petro. Petro is accusing the U.S. of murdering a Colombian fisherman in a military strike on his boat in the Caribbean. One of at least 7 strikes on boats the U.S. alleges were carrying narcotics bound for the U.S., and one of at least 32 people who have died as a result of those strikes. Joining us now, Washington correspondent for the New York Times, Charlie Savage, and White House and Foreign Affairs correspondent for Politico, Eli Stokols. So, Charlie, what is the response from the White House to Colombia?
Well, President Trump has already been feuding with the president of Colombia. He canceled his visa in September after the president of Colombia called for U.S. troops to disobey Trump and also criticized Trump's support for Israel in the Gaza war. So these are not people who were previously getting along. But Trump has canceled foreign aid to Colombia and told that country that its president has a smart mouth and they better clean up their act, et cetera. So this is certainly not a happy situation between the two countries, with the president of Colombia essentially accusing the Trump campaign of murder.
What is the goal here, Eli, from the administration? Is it a narcotics war, or is this regime change in South America?
Well, I don't think the answer to your second question is fully settled inside this White House, Katie, but I think in terms of homeland security, this is an administration that put defending the homeland from drug trafficking and from illegal migration. They put that at the top of the list of threats to the United States, above threats from other countries like China. This is a priority for this administration. And so that is what they are saying this is about. Whether the administration decides to go further, and whether that we see strikes inside Venezuela, whether there are more actions against Colombia, that remains to be seen. But I think, from the people that we have talked to inside this White House, there seems to be more unanimity among the senior team behind what the president has done so far. Whether they are all aligned on sort of the end game, that is a different question. I'm not sure that's the case.
Charlie, does that align with your reporting?
Yes, I think that it's the case that the campaign of blowing up boats in international waters is a little bit simpler. They can't shoot back. There's not going to be U.S. casualties. It's probably illegal, says everyone who's outside of the White House. Trump has claimed this is a war somehow, that he's determined that he can kill these suspected drug smugglers as if they were enemies in a battlefield as opposed to criminals who get arrested. But that aside, the political blowback is not going to be strong. And if they do go into a regime change war or land operations in Venezuela, we've been talking about Colombia, but really the writing on the wall is that they're interested in knocking out Maduro in Venezuela, as Eli was alluding to. Some of those factors will change. Not only will the legal issues become more heightened inside another country's territory, but there'll be much greater risk, both of loss of U.S. soldiers' life and also of being embroiled in the kind of regime change operation that MAGA, America First, was not supposed to be in favor of. And so there's a lot of tensions raised by not just the legal issues here, but also the policy issues of where this seems to be heading.
Yeah, an interesting contradiction from something we were discussing earlier in the show, and that is Donald Trump wants to play peacemaker overseas. But when it comes to this hemisphere and what's happening even here in the United States, peace doesn't seem to be exactly the goal. All right, Charlie Savage, Eli Stokols, gentlemen, thank you so much.